Okay, looks like we're back up. Uh, Shalom Yasharala. I'll try to see if I can send the link out again. Make sure we're plugged in here. Okay. 8%. All right. Okay, good. It's good. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. It was charging before, but I guess it stopped. So I can see some of the folks moving over to the stream. Let me just send a link out real quick just to make sure everybody has it. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. So as we just read in Deuteronomy 16, verses 16 and 17, fools to come together 3 times in a year, where the Most High shall choose, right? For these major high holy days, as every man is supposed to give as he is able according to the blessing of Yahweh thy power, right? So the Most High knows based on how much you had, what you gave, right? About understanding your necessity too, because you know, giving what you're able may be different from one man as opposed to another, depending on how the Most High has enriched him or enriched her. So keep that in mind too. It's all about proportion. Just like the Most High said, look, when it comes to the offering that goes to the priest, just let it be a tithe or a tenth, right? A tenth of whatever you brought in, whatever you earn. And it's funny because we even look at today with the issues that we see with government and economics, right? try to figure out how to have enough money to fund different projects, right? Whether it be, infrastructure, schools, or what have you, right? But now you see they have a very elaborate tax code, right? Which you need tax lawyers and tax experts to understand based on how much you make each year, how much you're supposed to get back, right? As an individual, or if you are set up as a business or what have you. And that one guy who was running for president way back, he's a neurosurgeon, Dr. Ben Carson, right? I don't know what I can say for, some of the things he was talking about as far as, what he would do as president. But one thing that he said that was interesting that, they didn't really give much attention because obviously it would upset the whole IRS system that they had going on here. And it's them making it intentionally confusing. But he said, why not everybody just pay a tenth? And to not just individuals, but the wealthy corporations. He said, why not everybody just pay a tenth? He said, the Bible says it. A tenth was holy unto God. We're not, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if I don't think he got applause, but just think about it. Given all the debt that we had, right? Because they keep, doing quantitative easing, just printing more money, right? To pay for stuff that there's no real work behind, or real effort behind, or value behind. Everyone was required to pay a tenth. They say even include like the real estate tax on it. How many years you think it would take? Of course, there's still sin we got to deal with in America, so it's not going to fix the problem. I'm just saying, as far as how quickly would the debt be serviced if even beyond the Fortune 5, Fortune 100 companies and the Forbes 100 list, the people that we see, say if they even did a tenth for all the trust funds too, right? Which we know the people who own wealth and trusts, they don't even have a list for them, right? They just put people like Bezos and Gates out in the forefront and say, look, the richest guy, on the planet, but it's like, no, you got people that have a whole lot more than them, but they don't own it themselves, right? It's like the old J.D. Rockefeller quote. He said, what did he say? He said, own nothing, control everything, right? Because that was the game that they played even back then. Put what you really have inside of a trust, right? That can't really be attacked or be taxed legally, right? And then when it comes to you as an individual, you just say I'm only worth like 2 pennies or something, but you're living off of interest on all types of accounts that you have, and you got all your money in these protected objects called trusts.
You said they played that game a long time ago?
Oh yeah.
They ain't playing it no more?
No, I mean I said they've been playing it since. I said, imagine if they had to pay a tenth. I wonder. That will really show too just how much money they really got, because they show that say they did it for 1 year. You see what the debt, right? The debt is, right. You said today everybody paid a tenth this 1 year. How much the debt dropped? That would be that would probably alarm a lot of people. They would go, oh, wow, their tenth did a whole lot. Now my school can actually get new books or technology. They can finally fix the potholes in my community, or whatever you got, whatever issue you got going on.
I don't think we have a problem paying 10. You only pay 10 on money earned. They say, okay, I'll pay 10. Money earned. But the money's in the trust. I heard it was, $60,000, 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, it's a trust. What do you mean?
Right. So yeah, make the tax the trust a tenth, or have a system where, okay, say it's not earned, it's what's the special name for it? And they say income versus wealth, right? What'd you say? Uh-huh. But I know a lot of the big corporations, like, they kind of like the fact that they can have their headquarters be in different places and avoid tax,
So they give it to like Dubai, but there's no income tax.
Mm-hmm.
So the headquarters there, they have another company here, but the parent company.
Mm-hmm.
So they just all the money goes there. They pay this company, so the real money you never see it.
Right.
They go to Panama, Dubai, Panama, Switzerland.
Isn't there a place in the UK? Like, was it Google? I think it's owned by Alphabet, right? And then they're in Ireland, but then it goes from Ireland to like some island, I think, in the Caribbean.
Like, there's also
Not the
not
Caymans.
Greece, but Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of the other places where they hide all the money.
It's one of Europe too, though, isn't it? Switzerland, because the Swiss bank.
He said that already.
Oh, you already said. Oh, okay.
You had your hand up, Yakina? Bahamas.
Bahamas, yeah, Bahamas, but they cut down because Bahamas is owned by it's the U.S. Is it U.S.
U.S. Virgin Islands?
It's U.S. Virgin Islands. So Bahamas is they kind of waving off. It's like one of the smallest islands got the most banks.
Mm-hmm.
There's more banks there than people.
Wow. So he's he's on the right track, but America's got a lot more to answer for, even if they did entertain something like that. But they won't though, because all the jobs that people will be lost with the IRS, and they've made it their business to chase folks down, especially at the time when they least expect it. They say, oh, you haven't paid in so long. Okay, no problem. No problem. Then they see you making some moves. Oh, now let me knock on that door. You owe us for these years. Oh boy.
They got the rule, they can order you back 10, 20 years. But if they owe you money, you only have 3 years to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
After 3 years, even if you go file for it, they're not obligated to give you the money. Only if they want to.
Right.
What is this?
Within the 3 years, they have to give it to you once you file.
Trump don't pay taxes for 20 years.
It's real estate, man. That's what
You know,
it's
it's
real
crazy.
estate, right? You're
You're trying to help people out with high bills.
Right. There's a famous quote, right? He said, yeah, of course I know. He said, because I'm smart. Everybody's like, what? It's like, hello. Didn't you know? But yeah, let's continue on. But yeah, there's a lot of laws that of the Most High that they were filed in any government, especially now. They will cause quite a stir, quite a change, and a beneficial one just them by themselves. We talk about everybody paying a tenth on their income and their assets, right? Even just one time, what it would do, and who can be mad about it, right? It's just everyone paid a tenth, right? It's not like you're getting squeezed more than I'm getting squeezed. It's all about a portion of whatever you have. Or laws like you should not accept a gift. In this case, not saying you can't give gift to your brother or sister, but accepting the gift, say like for a bribe. If you're a judge, you're supposed to judge a certain matter. But the one person you're judging, they're like, hey, I know I was supposed to do that, but just take this.
It's called campaign contribution.
Yeah.
Legal bribe.
Exactly. Legal bribe.
It's the only place in the world where bribe is actually legalized.
Mm-hmm. They do it other places, but they just keep it under wraps. But yeah, pretty much that. And then accepting a person's. The law says you're supposed to accept the person of the mighty, or disrespect the person of the poor. So you're supposed to judge the person for the right or the wrong that they've done, regardless of what their station is or how famous they are. Fame, fortune, or they're just blue collar working class. We know that doesn't happen either. We see our people get swept up in it too, especially when it comes to our celebrities that do break the law. They're not saints, but we'll turn a blind eye to them because we like the way their music makes us feel. They'll say free so and so, free those, you know. Right.
That's a good one.
Free Michael, you know, free Meek Mill, you know, free, you know. But it's like, okay, what was the crime committed, you know? Gotta look at it. But then, you know, for the average Joe commits the same crime. Throw the book at him. Give him the longest sentence, the hardest sentence. So you can't do it, you know, you gotta do it even Stevens for the crime committed. But yeah, just those two alone, accepting a person's and accepting a gifts. If they were just forced to not do that just for like one day or 1 week in America, so many things would change. But it happens all the time, pretty much every level, federal, state level, municipal level, all the time. You know, it's like, hey, I funded, like you said, I funded your campaign. Yeah, I committed this crime, but I need you to look out for me. You know, I need you to not prosecute, because if you do, you know, you have to look for that money somewhere else when it comes time for you to campaign again for re-election. Don't forget. Oh boy, we could spend a whole night talking about that guy. Man, that's a perfect example too of what Yahweh Shah talked about as far as I'm paraphrasing, but he says that which is done in the dark shall come out into the light. Yeah. Well, they got pictures together, him and Epstein. I didn't see the picture, but I heard about it. Oh wow, yeah, I heard about it though on his podcast, and he said Bill Clinton is wearing yeah. I tell you.
Bill Clinton.
Let's take a look at it afterwards. Let's go to the next verse. Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah chapter 8 in verse 13. So Nehemiah chapter 8, 13. Y'all kind of, if you can read that, Baba Kushan.
Nehemiah chapter 8.
Yeah, verse 13.
Nehemiah 8, verse 13.
Everybody has it, right? Or folks still getting it?
Nehemiah 8, verse 13. And on the second day were gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the people, the priests and the Levites, unto Ezra the scribe, even to understand the words of the law.
Right. So this is going into when the exiles of Israel came out of captivity, were coming back to Jerusalem to reestablish themselves in the Holy Land after the Most High allowed Nebuchadnezzar to take us out. So we get another chance to rebuild. Because remember, he told us only 70 years will we be away. He'll give us a chance to come back. So now Ezra, one of our leaders at that time, making sure that we're on point. He was a Levite himself of the house of Aaron, right? Read on.
And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month.
Right. So as they were getting the cobwebs out, because remember they were living underneath the heathen for a while, they're going through their law all over again, right? It's like a refresher course, if you will. And as they read through it, they realized, oh man, we should have been keeping this Feast of Tabernacles, right? Just like we're keeping now, like we're rehearsing right now. They were rehearsing back then, you know.
And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount and fetch olive branches and pine branches and myrtle branches, and palm branches, and branches of thick trees to make boots, as it is written.
Right. So they're going back to what we just read in Leviticus, right? About dwelling in booths, getting the thick branches, putting together to make makeshift booths or tents, tabernacles, right? And you see they had a lot of nice trees over there, right? They could get to and use those branches for it. Read on.
So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, everyone upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in the courts of the house of God, and in the street of the water gate, and in the street of the gate Ephraim.
Right. So then even reestablishing the gates that they had set up too. When they were rebuilding the city and the surrounding regions, and of course the temple itself within the city. You can continue.
Verse 17, and all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths. For since the days of Jeshua, the son of Nun, unto that day had not the children of Israel done so, and there was very great gladness.
Right. So it's been a while since they had actually done it this way and gone this far with it as far as making the booths. It said, since the days of Jeshua, the son of Nun. Now it's spelled differently, but this is just the same as Joshua. We were saying the Hebrew Yahushua, right? We know Yahushua, our Lord and Savior, of course. But there's more than, that was a popular name. He was one person that had it too. Jeshua, son of Nun, being the one that led Israel after Moses went and gave up the ghost. He was the next one to lead Israel when you read in the book of Joshua.
Verse 18, also day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of God, and they kept the feast 7 days, and on the 8th day was a solemn assembly, according unto the manner.
Right. So they kept it that year, and it says day to day, from the first to the last, they read in the book of the law of God. And we know it should be a practice that we read our scriptures every day, spend some time studying every day. But we definitely want to do it during the feast weeks too, right? Because the whole idea is to stay in that spirit of the feast. Because we know when it comes to the world, nothing wrong with checking out current events and keeping up with the prophecies in the scriptures, but you want to make sure that you do that because there's a lot of distractions, right? We were talking about in the 2000s, right? Weapons of mass destruction we got to watch out for. It's even more devastating is as they say, weapons of mass distraction, right? There's so many different things to get into, to check out, to look into, because that's one of the main tools that they use, right? So that they can continue to try to pass unrighteous laws to change the way that we live here in America.
Chapter 8, 18. Nehemiah.
Yeah, we just read Nehemiah 8:13 down to 18. So yeah, they'll use all types of distractions. So the key is to stay in the word as you see different things, whether watching the news or you're on YouTube looking at stuff, different current events, seeing advertisements, billboards, listening to family and friends, coworkers, right? The key is to make those connections with the scriptures. Because I always like to use that metaphor with like the Matrix, where remember when Neo starts to wake up, right? When he realizes the truth, and they take him out of the Matrix, right? When they first wake him up, he looks at the screen with the green code running down. Remember what he said? He's like, how you guys looking at that all day? They're like, oh, we don't even see the code anymore. He's like, all I see is, the cipher was like, All I see is blonde, brunette, redhead, right? You saw where his mom was at. But that's all he could see when he looked at the code. So that's actually a nice allegory for how it works when it comes to the truth, only it's just reversed. So we go out here, we see buildings, people, places. What we really see is the scriptures. We just see scriptures all around us when we walk about, right? To where your daily walk is like an exercise. Sadly, when you're in your own neighborhood, you should be able to see Deuteronomy 28 all over, right? But yeah, as you check out international stuff like Financial Times or Wall Street Journal, right, seeing stuff happening here and overseas, then you'll start seeing different prophecies, like the burden of Damascus or the burden of Moab or the burden of this nation, Egypt, or burden of that nation. As you read that, those prophecies that our prophets wrote down, you check out those current events, you should be able to make those connections. Oh man. Or one of our favorites in the truth is the Gog Magog prophecy, right? Ezekiel. Because you see the stage being set for those countries that are going to be allied with Russia, or in the Bible, Gog Magog. It mentions Persia, which is Iran. It mentions Ethiopia, which is Ethiopia still. It mentions Gomer and Togarmah, which is Germany and France, which is a surprise to a lot of folks because we would think that they would be more friendly with the United Nations in the East, right? They're more on the side of the United States and Britain. There's going to come a time when even those countries, and them being the two strongest in the European Union, right? The seven heads and the 10 horns that the prophecy saw, they're going to break away from the 10 horns and then get on Russia's side. So you check out different things going on over there with, price of oil going up and down, and Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2, these different pipelines they're trying to build. Russia trying to supply natural gas to the different European countries to try to compete with Israel, which we know the state of Israel is just being funded by the U.S. and the U.K. It's just fueling that fire to where that prophecy is going to come to pass. So like I said, for a person who doesn't really have this as a guide, it can seem, like a massive information trying to make sense of all these different things going on and what's the motive behind all of it. So if this is your anchor, you can weed through the sea of information and get the knowledge that's useful so that you can know and anticipate what's going to happen next.
Kind of read about that because the other day, Trump was upset. He's upset with Germany. Because Germany just made a major gap there with Russia.
There you go.
He said, "How are we going to be spending millions of dollars protecting you, giving you security, and you make a deal? These guys are our adversary.
Right.
And you're going to make a deal with them. He was like, we're going to come back to some of their aid because you're making a deal with us, well, not with them." Going off on them with Germany because they did that.
There was an article too back when Obama was still the president, and it was the same thing. It was Merkel, Angela Merkel? I think okay, right. It was might have been in 2015, maybe 2016, but it was when the Ukraine thing was hot, the whole Ukraine crisis, right? As far as East versus West Ukraine, and who was going to be in charge of the country or be in charge of those parts of the country, and the United States did the same thing. They said, yeah, Germany, join with us and sanction Russia. And then Germany was like, well, Angela Merkel, she's like, the enemy of my enemy is my enemy. We got a good thing going on with Russia. Like I'm not just going to sanction them. And then it was like a issue with that. It was like an article I think in the Wall Street Journal. They were talking about that. Obama was like had to go try a different method, different technique. Because Angela Merkel, she was like, I don't want to sanction them. I don't want to get on board. That's not my issue. That's your issue with them. That's not my issue with Russia.
Russia is much closer to Europe than they are to. So America says, like, oh, this is my backyard.
Right.
I gotta get along. These line over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Pipeline runs up to Europe.
And it's funny because what you'll see too, and not to spend too much time on it, but what you'll see too is for all the, because it just shows you a lot of this stuff, this power struggle, it's all about, like you said, what we all know, it's resources, right? You got to control the money, right? The currency. You got to control the resources that the currency can buy, right? In this case, natural gas, oil, right? Different things, food products. And you got the land itself and the waterways itself, right? That countries have. And finally, you got people, right? And within those people, you got people that, work at the companies, whether it be public sector, private sector. And of course, you have an army, right? If you have enough people. So it's like, that's kind of like how you can see what level of power a country is on when it comes to looking at them on those basic things. Who has those things? Is that country in control of those things? Are they getting help from other places? They're getting a lot of imports in to get those same types of resources. And I said all that to say, what was the last country that you mentioned? Yalkanan? You said something right before I went into the levels of power. No, you just said something right before I said that. What was the last comment you made? It was after that.
Pipeline running through those countries.
Yeah, you said
Go to
pipeline.
Europe.
It was after that.
Germany.
Not Germany. No. Maybe it'll come back to me. But either way, when you look at those things, you look at different countries, and that's kind of a measure of pretty much how much power, authority they really have over themselves, no matter how much they boast and say, yes, oh yeah, we declare our independence this year or that year, right? We declare our independence from our oppressor, from our colonizer. But it's like, who's the face on your money? Who really controls, your money supply? You got foreign banks in your country, right? Who controls your resource? Who really controls your land? Are you really free? And if you are free from what? Because sovereignty really, to really truly be sovereign, you got to have a handle on those things. And where you see all those outlined when you're reading, you just write it down. But in Genesis, you see this is when Joseph was in power in Egypt. When they were dealing with the famine, we might say today austerity. You see that these are the things that the people were using so that they can buy the necessity, food, because there was no food. So people were giving up their power just so that they could eat to survive. Joseph ended up pretty much owning everybody, right? Because they needed to eat. Because if you can't have food, what's the point? I got land, but I'm dead, But you'll see those same things I just mentioned. They touch on it. This is Genesis 47. Genesis 47. And you can start from 13. And it reads, Genesis 47 and 13, it says, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. Just as was prophesied, this was shown Joseph in that vision, right? 7 years of increase, but then 7 years of famine to follow. It says in 14, and Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. So did Joseph say, let me go just print some more money so they can buy more food? No, because he knew the money had to be tied to actually something, right? Of value. But see what he does though, to allow them to use as collateral for food. 16. And Joseph said, give your cattle, right? So they done spent all their money, right? There's no more money left in circulation. So he said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. So that's the next resource, right? So you have, living and non-living resources. If it's not money or minerals that can be used as money, now you have your living resources like cattle, right? Which can provide, different types of food, different types of clothing, right? Et cetera, as far as the skins. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. It says, and when that year was ended, they came unto him a second year and said unto him, we will not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent. My Lord also have our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our lands. See that? So that's the next level of power, your own land and your own body, right? Like they say, manpower, right? Human resource. 19, wherefore should we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. So now even they bought the land as a means of what? Something of value to then give them the food, because remember, it was a famine, they couldn't eat. It says, as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the border of Egypt even to the other end thereof. On the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them. Wherefore he sold not their lands. So it's kind of interesting here. This being before, we were a nation, we were just a family at this point. We see Joseph echoing that wisdom that will come later with the nation of Israel as how they would deal with, say, the Levites, right? And the priests that would come out of Levites to where, the lands that they would live in, they wouldn't be redeemable like the other lands would be. We would do, like, say, years of release. 23, and Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you. Ye shall sow the land. It shall come to pass in the increase. Ye shall give the fifth part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own, for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your households, and for food for your little ones. And they said, thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord. We will be Pharaoh's servants. Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day that Pharaoh should have the 5th part, except the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh. So you see here they paid, instead of a 10th, they paid a 20th, right? 20% or a 5th. Now we did a 10th to Levi, but remember when we demanded for a king, Most High said, okay, you want a king? All right, you're going to treat him like similar to how you're going to treat the house of Aaron. Now, this king that you want, you're going to pay him a 10th too. Israel said, okay, fine. 20%? Okay, cool. As long as we have a king just like these other nations. So be it. So you kind of see that here, way before that, we became a sovereign nation, but you see Joseph echoing that wisdom as far as the way he governed Egypt during hard times. There's a lot of wisdom to gain from just a short excerpt like this that you don't see being applied today's time. But we read that in Nehemiah. Let's go to Ezra chapter 3. Ezra chapter 3, let's go to verse 1, and we'll read down to 7. And Zakar, if you could read that, Baba Kushan.
Chapter 1.
3.
Read what?
1. We're going to go down to 7. And yeah, I just made a reference. I just read Genesis 47, 13 to 26. As far as levels of power.
Chapter.
3:1. All right, Ezra 3:1. Moreover, he said unto me. Ezra 3:1. Moreover, he said unto
You
me.
got the Bible stuff or you got the Bible?
I got the Bible. Who you in the Apocrypha?
No, Bible.
Is that it? You said Ezra chapter 3 and 1 verse first?
Moreover, he said unto me.
No, that's not it.
EZRA.
Oh, Ezekiel.
EZRN.
That was Ezekiel 3:1.
3:1. Y'all ready? Ezra 3:1. And when the seventh month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem.
Right. So going into that time again, when we came out of the captivity, we're all coming together during the 7th month to try to do the right thing during this month, like we're doing now. So it says they came together as one man, so they were together in unison, in one mind. They came to Jerusalem. Read on. You can read verse 2.
Verse 2. Then stood up Joshua, the son of Josadak, and his brethren, the priests, and Zerubbabel. That's your name, ain't it?
Come, one of them.
Zerubbabel, the son of
It's Zerubbabel.
Zerubbabel. Thank you, brother. The son of Shealite, and his brethren, and built the altar of the power of God, to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it is written in the law of Moses and the man of power.
That's
God,
That's the, not and.
Moses, the man of God.
Right.
Power.
Right. It was power of Israel. The altar of the power of Israel. So it's our God. So these were two of our leaders at this time. This was before Ezra and Nehemiah came on the scene. They were part of that second wave of exiles. But these two men were leaders during the first wave of exiles, coming to build the altar up and to do offerings of burnt offerings. What else did they do? Read on in verse 3.
Verse 3. And they set the altar upon his base, for fear was upon them because of the people of those countries, and they offered burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord, even burnt offerings morning and evening. Okay.
Okay.
Verse 4. They kept also the feast of the tabernacle as it is written, and offered the daily burnt offering by numbers according to the custom, as the duty of every day required.
Right. So they were doing the daily burnt offering, which is part of the sacrifice in the commandment. It says they kept the Feast of Tabernacles too, just like we're keeping now, with the daily burnt offerings by number, according to the custom. You read in the book of Numbers 28 and 29, it goes into all the specific offerings that we did for each high holy day. That's what it's talking about here. Verse 5.
Verse 5. And after offering the continued burnt offering, both of the new moons and of all the set feasts of the Lord that were consecrated, and of everyone that willingly offered a free will offering unto the Lord.
Right. So we had the things that were mandated that we had to do. And the Most High can put laws in there like a free will offering to where that's of your own choice, right? If you have the ability and have the resources, you can then do this yourself. Give a free will offering along with the things he requires on a new moon and the other set feasts, like the Tabernacles. Read 6.
Verse 6. From the first day of the 7th month began they to offer burnt offerings unto the Lord, but the foundation of the temple of the Lord was not yet laid.
Right. So they were able to do the offerings even though they hadn't built the temple just yet. They had the altar of burnt offering set up. At least do that much. Remember, they were the first group that came back, so they had a lot of work to do. So they hadn't laid the foundation of the temple yet, because remember, the other one was destroyed by the Babylonians. So they were coming back to rebuild everything. Check out verse 7.
Verse 7. They gave money also unto the masons, and to the carpenters, and meat, and drinks, and oil unto them of Zidon,
It's a Zidon.
and to them of Tyre,
Mm-hmm.
to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to the sea of Joppa,
Yeah, Chopper.
according to the grant that they had of Cyrus, king of Persia.
Right. So just like they built it before, they're using those same allies, right? Because Tyre and Zidon, they were Hamites that were known for what? Making nice ships and doing a lot of trade by sea. They were known for doing a lot of trade by sea, and they lived close by Israel. And once again, just like Solomon did, Lebanon, right? They were known for their cedar trees, right? You know, you look up cedar trees even now, they can get very tall, up to like 50 feet, sometimes even more. So to cut them down and then to have them travel by water boat out in Joppa, which is like a coastal city, and the boats come and bring the wood, so they could bring it up, so they could build a temple again.
Those are trees they got in California on highways.
Sequoia trees.
I don't know the name, I'm just asking.
Yeah, they have. I know sequoia trees are one of them. I think they probably have other ones too. But yeah, I seen a thing where they get so big over there. They have like a thing where a car can drive through it.
That ain't the tree. These trees are skinny, but it's top thing.
Because they got the wide ones too, where certain ones, like I said, they're that big, where they can cut out a thing where a car can go right through it.
Yeah, they're supposed to be real old and ancient.
Mm-hmm. Real big trees. It's messed up because there's a lot of beautiful countryside that's here in America that Gad got to take a look at and explore and live amongst. But because of Esau's sins, ain't nobody gonna be able to enjoy anything in this land because the whole thing's gotta be burnt up. Too much wickedness. It's messed up. So much beautiful land in here is gonna be destroyed. Let's get one more because I know we're getting a little late. But let's get the future. Just to show that this isn't just something of the past. This is something that's gonna be done in the future too. In the kingdom going forward. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. I'll read this one. Yeah. Zechariah chapter 14. Zechariah chapter 14. Start from 16. I'm going to read down to 19. Just say come once you have it. So everybody has Zechariah 14?
Come. No, not Zephaniah, Zechariah.
Right. Second to last book in the Old Testament. Malachi.
D-E-C.
Malachi is right before Matthew.
Zechariah. That's the last book.
Second to
The
last.
chapter.
If you get the Malachi 1, just flip a page, you'll be right there. So Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 16, it reads, "It shall come to pass," so it hasn't happened yet, "everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem," so referring to the war we're going to have in the aftermath, with Christ fighting with his angels against the heathen, even rather shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, Yahweh of hosts, and keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So we're going to be keeping the Feast of Tabernacles in the kingdom going forward. It says in verse 17, "It shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain." So you're going to have some nations left behind that aren't going to be destroyed in that Third World War because we need somebody to rebuild, right? To do the work that we commission. So for those that are left over, if they don't want to listen and keep the Feast of Tabernacles, so it's saying this for a reason, because we know the law is going to be written in our inward parts, right? That's what the scripture tells us when you're reading Jeremiah 31:31, Hebrews 8 and 8, going into that second covenant. That's promised to the house of Israel and the house of Judah, referring to our two kingdoms of tribes. That the law is going to be put in us. We'll know the commandments.
Amen.
Right, but the other nations that we rule over, they'll still be able to sin. So we see here, it says that if they don't come to keep it, showing that there's a possibility that they won't want to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. That can't be talking about us.
Because they sin, and then you got to put them back in line.
The Most High is doing it. What does it say? There shall be no rain. If you don't get rain, what's that mean?
You can't grow nothing.
Exactly. And if you got cattle, they can't drink anything. See that? You can't drink anything. Unless maybe you might have some wells and whatnot, but even you need rain for them and for your cattle that you use to till the land, right? To pull the what do you call it? The ox cart. To pull the plow to turn the soil. So yeah, there's a definitely no pun intended. There's a trickle down, right? A trickle down effect to not getting rain. It says in 18, "And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be a plague, rather the plague, wherewith the Lord shall smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles." It's now uses Egypt as an example. So you're going to have Egypt there in the kingdom too, right? Matazarian, right? The great Hamite nation now subject to the children of Israel. Everybody talks about Egypt, right? In these times. Such a great empire, right? Has so many dynasties, right? But look at them now. They don't want to listen to the God of Israel. Say it again, Gabon. What's up?
So they're going to get more than just no rain. They're going to get plague too.
Right. If them or any other nation doesn't want to keep the tabernacles.
Or it just says any other nation just ain't going to get rain. But it says Egypt going to get plague and no rain.
Right. It's just making a mention of them. But as you see, it says he will smite the heathen that come not up.
You don't want to listen.
So it's just using them as an example, but it says in the last part of that verse, the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So it could happen to anybody.
So they're going to get no rain and they might get plague.
Right.
They couldn't listen.
Right. And it says in 19, "This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations." See that? To answer your question?
Yeah.
That come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So this is one example. Now we might say, oh, so it's only that one and they're going to get punished? No, you can use deductive reasoning inductive reason to figure out, okay, it is referring to tabernacle specifically, but we know that it's going to apply to other commandments too if they don't keep them. Just like with us, right? If we just break any commandments, we know that what? We can be visited by curses. That's what we've been going through, what? For centuries now. Millennia. More than one millennia. So now the other nations get to feel that too. Because they had their time to rule, and every time they didn't do it according to the Most High's commandment. So they fell. But now we won't fall, and we will continue to rule with righteousness. But now with them, they have to abide by the law we set forth, which is the Most High's law. Otherwise, they can look forward to this. That's pretty much it. So yeah, Zechariah 14, 16, and 19. So like you said, those that don't want to listen. So there's other verses, but we covered key ones. Definitely during the week, because we'll probably touch on it during the closing service. Definitely read John the 7th chapter, because you'll get a taste of when Christ was on the scene, what was going on, some of the things that he did during this time too, when we were keeping the Feast of Tabernacles during that time, during the time of Christ's ministry. So definitely read that, if not today, sometime this week, read through John chapter 7. And have fun with it. Like, do a search on like the word tent or tabernacle when you're whatever app you have, or if you have a concordance. See a verse that you find that have something dealing with a tent or a tabernacle. Might be surprised what you might find.
I read that it was a temporary meeting place.
Oh, before you came, right? It just means tent.
It means tent.
Yeah, it means that.
That's what the word itself means.
You ain't gonna be there that long because you're moving. I guess you're moving right around.
So, Feast of Tents, Feast of Tabernacles, us coming out of Egypt, us coming closer to the Lord now, coming out of Egypt, not just in body, but in mind and spirit.
Right.
Because we were caught up with Egyptians, way of living. Now we had to become our own sovereign nation. So we had to learn what it meant to be on our own with the Most High. This was part of that transition to keep this year after year. To be reminded that we're coming out of Egypt, right? So it helps us now as we know that we're coming out of the modern day Egypt, America, by keeping a holy day like this. To be reminded that the only reason why we're able to do things in America is because of the Most High. It's very easy in our mind to give our oppressor too much credit for, oh yeah, I got running water, I got supermarkets, I got this, I got that. The Most High just set them up for the time. It's ultimately coming from him. Let's not be ignorant of that fact. Okay, so it's Shar, Chag, Sakawav, or you could say Shamak Kag Sakawav. They both mean, happy or have it joyous.
Right.
Like I said, this is the first day of many. Definitely, if you're able to, if you got a tent, definitely set it up as a reminder or decorate with branches in your home or set one up in your home or on your roof if you have a roof. Try to do something to keep yourself in the spirit of this feast week. So you're reminded of the Feast of Tabernacles, right?
So you're actually supposed to be setting up a tent.
Mm-hmm. But you may not be able to, depend on, the size of your place. You might live with, someone who doesn't keep the law. Your circumstance might be different depending on, your setup.
Is this the one you sleep in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, we talked about that before. Get a tent, put it in the living room, sleep in
Right. So anything that you can do to keep yourself in that spirit, the more the merrier. Definitely do it. Try to do it. I'll just read this verse on that before we do the closing prayers. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Something like a tent. Man. Oh, okay.
Put it on the floor. And the pillows just sit there for the rest of the day.
Use it as a tent. Right, just use it as a tent.
Why you gonna put it down?
What's the name of that store they sell all that stuff at? Outdoor?
Sporting goods.
The
I
511.
got that.
Okay, all right.
So here's a verse to be reminded of when it comes to every year, you know, as we keep this more and more, we try to do more and more. Even if we don't have the means, you know, to try to be creative and try to keep Holy Day the best that we can, because sometimes we may, you know, have possessional affliction, you know, physical affliction, where we may have to be more creative because we may not have as much resources as we like to buy things or to, you know, be able to set certain things up. So this is Ecclesiasticus 43 and verse 30. Ecclesiastes 43 in verse 30. Just write it. Just write it down. Just write it down, but I'll read it. It says, "When you glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as you can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when you exalt him, put forth all your strength and be not weary. You can never go far enough." Yeah. You know that. You know that. Bethod, remember you gave me that. Remember you said it. You drill. We went through that drill. You started telling me, "Oh, cause it's in the Apocrypha." Okay, so Sharkak Sakawaf once again. I just want to thank everybody for that was able to join either in person, over the phone, over the internet. Definitely try to have a blessed week. We said before, try to stay in the spirit of the Tabernacles. Be reminded of it, why it's important. You know, talk to family, friends, associates about it. And that's it. So with that, we'll do the closing prayers.
You got the Bible on that leader? Check to see if he has the Bible. Someone can take the phone from him. Hey, you got your hood on. You put no hood on.
Yeah. All kind of means.
Goodbye. Barakathu Yahweh, Ba'ashimi Hawashai, Asheranah, and Nanawa, Paria, Gapin, Thuata, Aman. La Yahweh, Ba'ashimi Hawashai, Af, Yasharah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa, Panuay Roshman, Santa Fe, Jerusalem. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Babakushai, Shemai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yimyan, Aitha, Shalak, Micah Allah, Waha'alahayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shamar Isle, Barak, Rapah, Magan, Wakhazayat, Banya, Yasha'ala, Washalak, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Rabiam, Da'if, Rabiam, Bayana, Rabiam, Sabalanwa, Rabiam, Amawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Ahabiam, Rabiam, Haganah, Rochanaya, Wasalak, Kau, Katayamnawa, La Akim, Wa Akiwa, Wayasha'ala, Tamyad, Waiwalam, Basham, Yahawashad, the water, Aman. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now. Right now, send Michael on the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins. For the brothers, sisters in Israel, always and forever, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Prayer for the food. Yahweh, Gadawo, Basham, Rawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakosha, Barak, Makao, Yanawa, Shatayawa, Yanawa, Yayan, Yanawa, Lacham, Yanawa, Shakara, Yanawa, Zakhar, Hasakawa, Basham, Yahweh Shai, for water, Amen. Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawab, Wayash Allah, Wabat Yasaparim, Shema, Yashar Allah, Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh, Khair. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us in the Israel in the house of books. And then we said, Hear, O Israel, Lord our God is one Lord. So that will say Shar Shabbat, also Shar Sakawa, or Shar Chag Sakawa, or Shema Chag Sakawa. Happy Feast of Tabernacles. Shalom.